Get in like the Marines.
Franchise.
Yeah.
Franchise.
We're in.
Franchise. Franchise the damn thing.
And now, a scene from Alien Covenant. May I ask you a question, Father?
Please.
If you created me, who created you?
The question of the ages, which I hope you and I will answer one day. All these wonders of art, design, human ingenuity, all utterly meaningless in the face of the only question that matters. Where did we come from? I refuse to believe that mankind is a random byproduct of molecular circumstance, no more than the result of mere biological chance. No, there must be more, and you and I, son, we will find it.
Allow me a moment to consider. You seek your creator. I am looking at mine. I serve you, yet you're human. You will die, I will not.
Bring me this tea, David. Bring me the tea.
And scene.
Welcome to Franchise Addicts, a podcast covering every film in a given franchise. My name is Luke.
And I'm Chris.
And this week we're covering the 8th movie of the Alien franchise, Alien Covenant.
It's getting close to that time, ladies and gentlemen. Romulus is upon us. It's coming next week.
This is the last released Alien movie.
This is the last time we're going back in time, this time to 2017. Alien Covenant, a sequel to Prometheus, came out 5 years after. Also one I saw opening weekend. This one's a bit divisive. Amongst the fans. I did enjoy it quite a bit. I don't know if we want to get right into our reactions or whatever, but I definitely I was anticipating this one big time. I know some people hated Prometheus. I didn't. It wasn't my favorite Alien movie. Wasn't my favorite ever. But I liked it enough, and I heard this one was going to be a bit more alien focused, a bit more horror from what I saw in the trailer, and I was pumped, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, so I had talked to Chris before we watched Prometheus, or I watched Prometheus for the first time. Because while I was doing some research on Prometheus, I kept on getting Covenant spoilers because these movies are so tightly connected and that the lore from Prometheus carries into Covenant, and some of the stuff that you have questions about in Prometheus gets answered in Covenant. So when you're looking up stuff about why things happen in Prometheus, people are answering based on what happens in Covenant. And I asked Chris, I'm like, should I just watch Covenant before we even cover Prometheus?
And I said no.
So I decided not to. So I have recently watched Covenant. Chris and I actually just finished watching it.
Just wrapped up.
For the second time. This is a half good movie, I believe is what I told Chris.
Okay.
Immediately.
Immediately after. Well, actually, no, you did say that.
I said it was half good. I said the half that's bad is really bad.
You were a bit negative on it per our initial
text.
Now,
I will caveat that with this is better than the worst of other Alien movies. Like, this is better than Resurrection.
Oh, by so much.
This is maybe, yeah. I mean, I've got complicated feelings about Aliens, but, this is better than both of the AVPs by far.
Oh, yeah, not in the same league.
But it's not, from my opinion, it's not close to Prometheus. The half of it that I enjoy is very close to Prometheus, but the half that I do not enjoy is, like, even the second time through while we were watching it, I did not have a hard time just checking out and not paying attention to this movie at all.
I'll say the parts that really work well, and again, I will fully acknowledge that there are parts, when we were just rewatching it right now, for those in the audience, we skipped over certain parts, because I was like, I don't need to see this part again. I recently watched it not too long ago, but there are parts that just don't work in this. Plot stuff, character stuff, but there's a lot that I think works, and it works really well. And so I would say the stuff that works well is right up there for me in my absolute favorite Alien stuff. It's not going to take over the 1979. I don't think it would take over Aliens, but is some of that stuff that we have in Covenant going to take over 3 for me? Yeah.
So I think your main criticisms of 3 are largely that, the ending is very, it's similar all the way through. The CGI of the alien looks very goofy in certain parts of it. So just like the look and feel of it feels outdated and doesn't flow very well. Whereas like Alien and Aliens kind of have that classic, late 70s, early 80s action vibe that still works for the modern eye. I think Covenant is able to, because the technology has come along so far, that even action sequences that I may not think work very well, just because I don't care about the characters and the action set piece are just very reminiscent to other stuff that we've already seen within this series. I think they just look really good because the technology, Ridley Scott's back, so, master filmmaker working, visual effects in all the movies that at least he's been a part of and Cameron's been a part of all look really good. So I think that covers over a lot of the, bad parts of this movie, is that it still looks really good.
It looks great, and it's got that big time horror vibe. I have a 16-year-old son. I have 3 sons, but one of them is 16, just turned 16. Happy birthday! And we watched a number of the Alien movies, and I believe he would say his favorite is Covenant, but he's 16, so of course the stuff that looks outdated looks really outdated, but he really liked it. So let's get into, I guess, what we thought worked, what we didn't think worked.
Yeah, I'm going to go over a couple of things at the top, just, because we had talked about so much on the Prometheus pod, how this was supposed to be at least a trilogy, and after the reception of Covenant, that was not going to be the case. That is largely because it had a $97 million budget, lower than Prometheus, but still around the 100 million mark. It only made 78 million domestically. So this did not do very well. It did about the same as the most recent Mad Max movie.
Yeah, which was considered a big time failure.
Yeah. It made 166 internationally, so a little over 200 gross altogether. But that's still for a big budget alien movie in 2017 during the height of Marvel and all these other, big blockbusters. This is a nothing burger. So kind of seen as a failure. Yeah. Definitely gave the production companies enough to just be like, hey, Ridley, we're not coming back. We're scrapping the third and just not having it happen. The other big change to this is that Lindelof is not a part of the writing of this movie. So he's, kind of the main voice that comes through within Prometheus, and he is not involved at all in this movie. It seems from the research that I did that Ridley Scott basically wrote this movie. He is not the credited writer on this. It's actually Jack Paglin and a couple other guys. But it sounded like Ridley Scott storyboarded most of this movie, and the writers kind of worked with him to create a script. And it kind of went back more to the John Spates version of Prometheus, which had David be a more evil character in his version of the script, where Lindelof kind of softens it a little bit. And David is definitely evil in this movie. So it seems like that's kind of the direction that Ridley wanted to go. There's also a lot of conflict that comes out of this movie because Prometheus seems to suggest that the engineers created the xenomorph, at least at some point. This movie suggests that it's potentially David that creates the xenomorph. So there's just a lot of confliction between the writing within these two movies. I side on the Prometheus side. Chris, maybe you lean a little bit more on the Covenant side. Maybe not from the writing standpoint, but just the fact that some of the visuals, at least the action scenes in this, are a little bit more successful than Prometheus.
It was a more fun, complete horror experience for me.
Yeah, this is definitely far more of a horror movie.
Yeah, and at its roots, I think that's what Alien always was, for me especially, and I think for many. And it really goes back to that. I mean, Prometheus kind of, I don't want to say it shoehorns in some horror, but I'll say it. I think I mean you've got your MedPod scene, super cool. You've got the squid and some stuff. I mean it is not bad at all. But a lot of that movie, I asked my mom. This is a hey, shout out to my mom if she's listening. But I said, have you seen Prometheus? Because we're covering that on the show. She said, isn't that the one where they're just walking on a ship all the time talking? And I mean,
that's what Alien 79 is.
sure. But that's someone's takeaway that it wasn't that that's what they remembered. I think this gets to it, and some parts of this are so successful for me in ways that Prometheus never is.
So we open this movie with, I think this is the only cold opening in the Alien franchise, if I'm thinking correctly. So there's a cold opening, again, is a scene that occurs before the title card comes in.
Saturday Night Live viewers know what a cold open is.
Yep. So this movie begins with, yes, there are, some, like the director's names and that sort of stuff come up, but we open with Mr. Weyland and David right after David's creation. So he is now, alive and talking, and he's having a conversation with Mr. Weyland to begin this in a, white room with a piano, looking out onto a beautiful vista out in front of him.
Bugatti throne.
Yeah. And Mr. Weyland asked David to play the piano, and he plays him some Wagner, the March of Gods into Valhalla.
It's a little anemic without the orchestra.
Which is interesting because, Chris, do you know who Hitler's favorite composer is?
Only because I checked your notes. It's Wagner.
Wagner. And so we've got David liking Wagner. Hitler likes Wagner. David wants to exterminate the human race. Hitler wants to exterminate parts of the human race.
So, yeah, let's get into, I think, David's motivations is one of the key discussions to have, I think, in my mind. Because he has a lot of, like, his motivation is the literal driving force of all the action, well, much of the action, majority of it in this movie. And it starts in Prometheus, and, as you mentioned, it's maybe a little muted. His character is a little more, maybe I'm good, maybe I'm bad type of situation, which I think, whether it's Lindelof's writing or not, that's appropriate. We don't need to know that he's all bad. Now, does he maybe take too hard of a pivot into Covenant as far as how he appears? Maybe, although I think they have to, and it's been 10 years, and, we can talk about, what, he went crazy or whatever. But, so he's made in Weyland's image. Is that the reason that he is the way he is? And he has the ability to create, but he also seems to have some other emotions, and we don't really know why. But the only thing I can keep pointing to is he's made in his father's image, and his father, Weyland, wanted to essentially be a god.
Yeah, and David, his creation, eventually learns to hate his creator. He hates Mr. Weyland. He basically says so in this movie. And this cold opening at the end of it, basically the line reading that we did at the start of this, it shows the beginning of that. So, they have the back and forth where David points out, like, you will die, I will not. And then as soon as Mr. Weyland hears that, he begins subjecting David, like, you are my servant, you are my creation, bring me the tea. And David complies and serves his master.
But grows resentful.
But yes, the resentment begins because as long as Mr. Weyland is alive, David will always be his subject, his servant. Even though he calls him his son, he is always second to Mr. Weyland. In Prometheus, as soon as Weyland dies, that's when, this movie follows that David now gets the idea of, I'm going to become the creator. I'm going to become the destroyer. I am going to become the god.
Yeah. So is that too much of a reach for you? Like, is that motivation? Because I found it, like, I'll go with it, and I like it, and Michael Fassbender's awesome, and I love the idea that this synthetic is the centerpiece to this trilogy. It's something new. We had Ripley in the first 4, actually, of course. This time it's going to be like, no, this is actually going to be centered around an anti-hero, and it's going to be a synthetic, and it's going to, like, this is the new game here. And here's the motivations. Does that work for you?
I think so, because I think, like I had already said, that when David sees Weyland die and then ascends to a place of power, it's a furthering of David's ego. We talked about Weyland and Prometheus being the ego of humanity, that now that him as a human has become a creator of his own, now he is worthy of being a god and immortality. David already has immortality, and so his main goal is to create something even better than humanity, even better than the thing that he was created after, a perfect species that Ash talks about in Alien 79, and David echoes in the same movie, where he sees the xenomorph as this perfect creation. And then as a part of that, he also has to then destroy all connection to humanity that exists. And that's, the way the xenomorphs are formed, using humans as the host, having to have the destruction of human beings being a part of the creation of the xenomorphs. So, it's all there.
It's all there. It's cool. I guess I will say, like, some really cool ideas. And for sci-fi movies, for original sci-fi movies, that's amazing, because we don't get stuff like this a lot. But I will say, I feel like it almost all adds up. Like, it's
Sure.
a little, like, there's a parts where I'm just like, okay, like, but that's fine. That's enough for me. It doesn't completely hit all the marks, but it's good. It maybe nods to evolution. And we see that through when we're not maybe doing all of a scene by scene thing. We're obviously, I know we're jumping into talking about some ideas here, but when he's got his little shop of horrors and all the experiments he's been doing, he's basically he's shares with Walter that he is pushing along evolution, and he is this next new visionary.
Sure. And this is also, if we want to take it to a meta level, this is the idea that Ridley Scott has been obsessed with since Blade Runner, that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to, subvert man within the order of the world and become the new, the creation of man now becomes the thing that subjects man, destroys it, and becomes the new, powerful creatures of the universe.
Next question, is David AI Hitler?
I don't think so, unless...
In ways. In ways that...
Because he doesn't see... So Hitler can be seen as like someone who is taking humanity itself to its highest point. He doesn't seek to like become anything really too much more than human. He just wants to cleanse humanity to its inner
he
perfections.
Himself is human.
Yeah, he himself is also not Aryan, so
yeah,
kind of a lot of... The man was conflicted in a lot of areas. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, a little bit of a hypocrite. I think David can... obviously the Wagner thing is just a straight
nod to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is largely Ridley Scott taking a lot of his ideas from Blade Runner and kind of just working through that.
Let's talk a little bit about the entrance of the gods into Valhalla. I know you were looking up that a bit, and I know that this came up in when I was doing a little bit of research on Prometheus, that this essentially has something to do. Valhalla, and maybe I'm saying that wrong. That's okay.
No, that's all right.
Is supposedly like paradise, right?
Yeah, it's the Norse god heaven.
Yeah, Viking heaven.
Yeah.
It's Viking heaven. So
this comes so
And it comes
March
to
of the
us-
Gods into Valhalla is from a larger opera composition by Wagner, where from the opera Das Reinhold.
okay.
And Das Reinhold is about a dwarf that creates a powerful ring that it is very similar to Lord of the Rings, basically, but all within Norse mythology. And there's basically what happens is that the power corrupts, and what happens is the humans get the power, and the humans take over the gods, and they enter Valhalla as the new gods or whatever. So the march symbolizes the culmination of their efforts to secure power and control. However, it is also imbued with a sense of foreboding, as the fortress is obtained through deceit and betrayal, setting the stage for the conflicts and tragedies that will unfold in the subsequent operas in the cycle. So it's basically exactly what happens to David, or how David carries things out within Covenant.
And we talked. I brought up when we were talking about Prometheus, the scene where he is watching Lawrence of Arabia had new significance for me, because I saw Prometheus and I didn't rewatch it, and then of course I saw Covenant a few times. And he wants to be like Peter O'Toole, Lawrence of Arabia, and the plot of what he does is essentially what he turns out to do in the subsequent two movies.
Exactly, and it continues in Covenant because David sings "The Man Who Broke the Bank at Monte Carlo." This is when he's cutting his hair, looking into the mirror. He's singing that song.
There's that really weird shot where he looks insane through the glass.
Yeah, so this is a nod to Lawrence marveling at the echoes of his own voice as he sings the same song after wandering for many days by himself in the desert. As Lawrence is singing this, he suddenly makes contact with a British officer who guides him to the camp of King Faisal. It highlights David's prolonged isolation. It should be noted that Lawrence's success expands and his following increases. He becomes more bloodthirsty, finally reaching the point of ordering a no-prisoners attack on the retreating Turks.
That's so cool. I mean, and I feel like there's such rich text in here. I think we can all agree that it's not necessarily executed perfectly or not even close, but that's probably because there's really big ideas and really cool illusions and really cool stuff happening. And I think there's an amazing, like a world-renowned trilogy that's in here somewhere that I didn't get realized, and what a tragedy that after the second one they're like, yep, probably not even going to do the third. There are people out there that are like, hold out hope, maybe they'll do it sometime, which would be great, or at least something to find out how that story would have ended. But such cool stuff, and the way it's set up, and with such artistic vision, through the world building of Ridley Scott, through the acting of Michael Fassbender, through the existing mythology that he essentially takes, like, oh yeah, I did Alien. He didn't write it, but I directed Alien way back then. Let's use that to make this other crazy mythical like story that is a sci-fi story with synthetics and aliens. Also, though, it's going to have real shitty human characters.
Yeah, but the other thing that it has is the perfect foil for the David character. And how do you create a character, Chris? And how do you pick an actor to match Michael Fassbender as David?
Well, maybe you just put him in that Urkel machine and just copy him, make him instead. He's not David, he's David, or AKA Walter. Hi,
I'm Walter.
Coming right away, mother.
So what they decided to do was like, who can compete with Fassbender? Let's just get Fassbender.
Yeah.
So Fassbender plays Walter, the AI that is aboard the Covenant vessel, helping the humans and their colonists. He is an updated model that has healing powers. He also speaks in an American accent as opposed to having a British accent. This is largely just explained because David was created by Mr. Weyland, who has a British accent, unless I am doing the line reading at the beginning. Then he has not a British accent.
Less British, yeah.
But that is the reason why David has a British accent, and Walter is a more, universal American
All American.
AI, probably made in China, but who knows?
Who knows? But he's not made to create.
And he's the first person that we see on the ship, and he's kind of going through the same, moves. He's not throwing,
Not having a
hook
little-
shots into, from 3-point land.
Watching movies, doing his hair.
He's
Walter,
a lot more focused.
Walter is focused, and he's just got his hoodie, and he is taking care of business, and there is no frill for Walter. He is a hard-working, blue-collar synthetic.
And
He loves Bruce Springsteen.
yeah, and Walter is everything that David isn't. There's a conversation later on where Walter and David meet and they are talking about their differences, and they have basically reprogrammed Walter into being less human than David was created as, and also taking out his ability to just create in general. Like, he can't even learn how to play music because he can only basically copy things that already exist. He couldn't pick up a flute and just play it.
Now, to play devil's advocate, I would say that, hey, we should have made him like this in the first place.
Yeah.
Make them say, don't put that ego megalomaniac part in it. Take that chip out. That could be dangerous. But, hey, Weyland didn't know. He's like, just make them just like me.
My response to that would be, do you not think that Steve Jobs, when the first iPhone came out, that his iPhone was a little bit better?
Yeah.
His personal iPhone?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, Mr. Weyland, he's the creator of the David prototype. David is the first version of that prototype, specifically built just for him. He then probably licensed the David, AI coding to the world in order to make, less good versions, but his one's a little bit special.
Noted. Good point. So we got Walter. Let's talk a little bit of the crew. There's a crew. It's on the Covenant ship. They're colonists.
This is where the movie sucks.
Yeah. We don't have to spend a lot of time here. You got Billy Crudup. You got Danny McBride. You have others.
James Franco.
It was ahead of its time. They canceled him right away, this movie.
They were like, let's not have him in the movie.
We see a couple years down the road, this won't play well. Just throw him out into space. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see this suffers from the same issue Prometheus does, in that the characters, you don't really care about them. But they're not the main part of the movie. David is. But I think that, yeah, the characters aren't exciting.
I would argue that the characters in this movie are even worse than the Prometheus characters. The crew members, at least.
I would agree.
The crew members in Prometheus are very underwritten, unless Lindelof wanted, Shaw, for instance, wanted them to have a little bit more meaning to them. Whereas the characters in this are just nothings, and the way that they try and solve that is have them all be in relationships so that you care when certain halves of relationships die.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this makes sense because they're colonists, so send couples because they got to make babies on this new planet that they're going to. But it's just so, it's silly, hacky writing to just be like, hey, babe, and then, split them up, and one of them's dying, the other's yelling over, no, why? Ah!
Yeah, I gotta go down to the 80 kilometers above the
Yeah,
storm.
we gotta,
Tennessee.
As mothers, basically, I'm not allowed to allow the ship to be ripped to pieces because there's 120 other people on this that have
Over 2,000, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's, no bearing on what you, Mr. Tennessee, taking over captaincy of this ship, care about your wife.
But I gotta hear my baby on the phone.
I've never heard her scared before.
Yeah, what? Okay, buddy. Sounds like a bad relationship to me. But so that part is not that exciting. Essentially skip over it. I don't. I mean,
Yeah, the
who
most
cares?
important part that involves the crew is what basically brings us onto the planet, and that is there is a transmission that gets picked up over Tennessee's helmet. That's Danny McBride's character, who is fixing the sail that charges the ship, basically. Whatever, not a big deal. But he receives a transmission. We know it's Shaw because we can hear her voice a little bit, and she is singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads" by John Denver. And this causes the crew to basically be like, well, if we're getting a transmission and this sounds like a human voice, there must be humans already living on this planet that we're right next to. They're still traveling to Origai 6, which is 7 years away. Yep. They've been violently brought out of hypersleep because a nuclei blast occurred. But this causes Billy Crudup's character, who is currently the captain, because James Franco was the captain, but he died. To basically be like, we got to go down and investigate this human that might be trapped on or living on this planet.
Yeah. I think the only thing that's important, I guess, is he's the big man of faith. That's his thing, and he makes that known. And I'm the captain now, and I'm a man of faith. And so the man of faith makes the decision to go down to the hellish planet. We'll talk about that later. They get onto this planet, and this part is one of the most effective parts of this movie because this is a alien horror movie. The next 25 minutes. You get the two crew members. What are their names? It doesn't matter. We don't even need to look them up. Backburster guy, throatburster guy. They both get infected by the spores, and what we've never seen done in an alien movie. Because you got to think, at this time we're on the 8th movie. We've done a lot of stuff. We've seen a lot of cool alien stuff. So what haven't we seen? We haven't seen the stressful tension build up as people get sicker and sicker, like over, let's say, like a 10-minute time period, because the spore neomorph infection, it goes quicker. You get sicker quicker, and seeing both of those happen, cut in between each other, and that backburster is horrific, and I mean that's just straight up intense horror. And that has not been done, and that was incredibly effective. And just the going back and forth between those two scenes, super horror. Just gruesome stuff.
Do you know what this 25 minutes reminds me of? I do agree that it's good. Good horror part of the movie. A lot of not necessarily jump scares, but a lot of gore, a lot of running after each other.
And the tension. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. They're panicking. Yeah.
This reminds me a lot of the movie Annihilation.
Oh,
Alex
yes.
Garland.
I
So,
love it.
they're in this, very subtropic kind of landscape with the high trees, a lot of water around them. It's a lot of
they're in the shimmer.
Yeah, it's a lot of traveling in groups with guns drawn, always worried about anything that might be popping out from the forest or anything like that. And the people getting infected and seeing crazy monsters and
Their
stuff.
DNA getting modified.
That movie absolutely rips. I love that.
I know,
movie.
so
that was in 2018. So
right around the same
sounds
time.
like Garland just stole this from me.
It's a book.
I know.
It's a cool, but yeah, as far as some of the way that it's shot and stuff, and this is I know we'll come back to that part, but it's funny you bring up Annihilation because I was thinking of Annihilation also. Because it came out around the same time, and I was really into both movies, and I was really into the score for both of the movies. Like, I thought, it's very rare for me to go on Spotify and listen to a score to a movie. I listened to it for both of these films, and I know for Covenant, it's a mixture of previous scores, but I think it stuck with me, even after seeing it the first time. And there is some of the same reverse notes, like it's like.
So
it's how it sounds like, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
The Prometheus score was actually recorded backwards and then played forwards to make it sound creepier.
Really? The
Yeah.
Prometheus one?
The Prometheus one, which also features in Covenant.
Yeah. Oh, so that's cool.
And, I mean-
Major Beatles stuff happening there.
Yeah, Ridley Scott
Radiohead.
does a very good job of picking his composers. All of his movies usually have pretty good scores.
Yeah, so the creepy, awesome score that also like nods to like things morphing and changing in a creepy way. Yeah, Annihilation score. Shout out to that. So I thought that this the scene on this planet where they both leading up to essentially when both of the guys die and the neomorphs are released were awesome. Now, do you think the CGI of the neomorph baby was questionable?
No,
I think it was fine.
It's fine.
People have criticized it.
I mean, it doesn't look bad. Some of the actions that it does, some of the movements and stuff are kind of goofy, but it's not like it looks
yeah.
like
I
out of
thought-
place.
It's
It's just weird choices with it. Is all it is. Like it doesn't look goofy because of the way that it's made. It's just goofy because of what it's doing.
So I'm gonna go on record. I'm gonna say something shocking right now. The backburster, way scarier than the chestburster. And I know like we're looking at 1979 technology, and if I was alive then, I'm sure it would have been a different thing. But if I'm just in my experience, what did I find to be more disturbing in my life? The backburster scene was much more disturbing than the chestburster scenes. Like any of them. It's a creepy idea, and of course it originated in Alien, but that part is awesome and super brutal. It's brutal. And the way that he dies right after that, and this is 2017, so you're seeing full-on blood. You're seeing the full-on burst. And it's happening in those, you're getting two bursts, and the throat burster isn't quite as cool as the back burster, but also it's cool. It's different. And this happens within a short period of time, and like, what a way to just like kick in some high horror in like, 35 minutes into this movie.
Yeah, I mean, shout out my guy Ledward. All he wanted to do was take a piss and have a cigarette, and he just gets infected.
Yeah.
It's tough for that guy.
Real tough.
The scene in the med bay after the door has been locked by Tennessee's pilot wife, and Corrine, who's Billy Crudup's wife,
Yeah.
is stuck in there with her. When the neomorph comes out and she like first kicks it and like hits it against the wall, but then it like comes crawling on top of her and is like crawling at her face, and like there's blood come. That is some scary shit, because it looks just like a rabid animal that is
Yeah.
just going ham on you, and it's like it's the size of something that me at least can comprehend, like getting some crazy dog that just latches onto your jugular vein and is just going at you. Yeah, that's some scary
It's
shit.
the stuff of terror. And when I think it's Corrine. Again, these character names are not going to be super important for me.
Corrine.
But when she is in there and the other woman says essentially like, I'm locking you in there until we can get a handle on this infection. So she essentially resigns herself to the fact that she's probably going to die with this guy who's got this thing coming out of his back, and it happens slowly, and he's seizuring, and she goes over there and just like kind of embraces him, like to try and comfort him in the moments before this horrific death happens.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit is what I'm saying. Like, that is gnarly, amongst the best shit that in alien horror.
Yeah.
100%. Like, I will be pleased as punch, as Scott Aukerman would say, if Alien Romulus can give me something that's close to that.
It's gonna be there now. Whether or not you're gonna be able to see it because of how dark it's going to be.
I would hate that. I hate when it gets so dark. Like, but yeah, that's another thing.
It's coming, baby.
Oh,
It's
fuck.
absolutely coming. If you
Come
thought
on.
AVP Requiem was
so
dark,
No,
the trailers for Romulus look pitch black.
and with a little red tint. But yeah, so again, like that's where this movie makes its hay for me, is the return to just truly demented horror. And then of course the David stuff too, but it all is, I mean, this movie, these dark nihilistic movies that are just like, there's no redeeming quality. There's no happy ending here. This is just pure, like, this is like Empire Strikes Back vibes times 2000, like way darker. But I think, you know, I say that because that was one of the first experiences I had as a child of like a movie, especially a franchise movie that could just be really dark and not have like there is no happy ending at all. And this completely does that. I mean, so did Prometheus, but more or less. But holy shit. So that part clearly really works for me. And then they meet David.
So David appears as a hooded figure that shoots a flare into the air as the second neomorph is attacking our main crew out on the planet itself, kind of in that mossy area. This distracts the neomorph. I don't think it kills it. I think it just distracts it because it shows
away.
up later.
Yeah,
so
it
yeah,
just
it
runs
is not
away.
destroyed. We don't know it's David yet, but the hooded man tells everyone to go follow him, and they go back to his lair, basically, and then he reveals that he is David.
Looking exactly like Iggy Pop at first.
Yeah, he's got the long hair going.
Yeah.
He has not cut it off and sang his song yet about Monte Carlo.
Yeah, so now David's introduced, and now that's the focus, right? So that's the focus. Now, what did you think? So obviously this is a different David than we last left. Like we last left David, the Prometheus David. This guy's different.
Yeah, the David in Prometheus, he's still, laughing, telling Shaw that it's okay to put his head in a suitcase and all that sort of stuff. He appears to have made a turn. Like there's parts in Prometheus where you could see him being a little sinister and all that sort of stuff. But you think he cares about Shaw. Shaw came back. She put him together. They're on the ship together. They're good buddies. And this David that we see
Has gotten weird.
He's Crusoe and his island.
Yeah, he's so it's like,
But a part of us going into David's lair is we see these black charcoal figures that look like people all over the ground. It looks like a city that has been decimated with no explanation as David's kind of walking them through this. So something has happened. It will be explained, but there is death around everywhere that David is. So his appearance as this haggard, weary survivor seems to fit the place that he's in.
So yeah, I think is it okay to just take? I mean, since we're not going to go so plot.
Yeah, go.
I mean,
just go
we
ahead.
can. So obviously, it's revealed that he killed all the engineers, and that comes out in a flashback scene. I'm happy they didn't do it with holograms. But so they just gave us a straight up you don't need to know how. This is just a flashback scene,
And it's sick.
It's so sick. And so he just rains this black goo up down upon the engineers and kills them all. And so, okay, so my question here is David just went. He didn't go insane because he's a synthetic. So he got his thirst to be a god, wanted to kill all the engineers because he wanted to create something even better, and I guess he thought the engineers were inferior. But also, what's up with David crying when he kills stuff? Because they show him as he is deploying those weapons, and he's got a tear in his eye. That's clear. They also show that he has a tear in his eye when he's talking about Shaw, who he mutilated and made into a test subject. So, what's going on? Is my question to you. What is David? Is he emotional or what? He clearly has lust happens towards Walter.
And and Daniels too. He kisses Daniels.
But
that's more to take from Walter.
Yeah, he's really got it for Walter.
Yeah, he likes Walter.
And so, but so it's just.
When you close your eyes, do you dream of me?
I don't dream at all. Stop it. You're being weird.
God damn it, Walter. We were having a moment.
We were not having a moment. Get the hell off my alarm. But so it's just, I think, and some of this, honestly, I think you can, when you come down to it, you can be like, I don't know, it's not really explained, and maybe that's bad writing. Why is David, I'm not going to say it's bad writing, because I think it's intriguing. But what the hell what is this? Is it all? I think the only explanation we can keep coming back to is he's made in Weyland's image. Like,
Yeah.
as like, to why he clearly feels something as he's about to destroy a whole planet of these people cheering for him. He feels some remorse.
Well, this gets into kind of the next big thing when Walter and David are having a conversation, and this later comes up where David points out to him so David quotes another famous piece of literature. He quotes Ozymandias. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty in despair. And then misattributes that poem to Byron initially, and Walter doesn't say anything. Walter then confronts him later about who wrote Ozymandias, and again David says Byron, and then Walter corrects him by saying it's Shelley, and then says to David, some of the notes
one note in the
symphony is off. So he is telling David that there is something wrong in his programming, something that is causing him to have these delusions, basically, of this, creator God grandeur. So there's something within David that was programmed correctly that he's going against, because he's an all-knowing AI. He should know who wrote.
Yeah, it didn't track
Ozymandias.
For me. Yeah, something's off.
So there's a flaw in David's programming.
Okay.
So I think you can attribute the fact that he's crying a little bit to the fact that he knows what he's doing is wrong, but he's doing it anyway because of his hatred for Mr. Weyland and humanity and creation and wanting to become, this superpower.
Weyland accidentally programmed in some mental illness.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it, whereas Walter is just as straight as an arrow.
I'm on Prozac.
Yeah.
I keep it straight. Yeah.
But the other thing that is wrong with David quoting Ozymandias is that he's quoting it almost as if that is a poem about the power of a god. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and tremble. That is not what the poem is about.
What is it about?
The poem is about seeing a statue in a barren wasteland that was for a Ramsay II, who was a powerful conqueror. And years later, all that is left of this statue and visage that basically says, I am King of Kings, is a barren wasteland of nothingness. So it is these great men that came to power, thought they were gods, and years down the road, what are they? They are nothing but two legs part of a statue in a vast desert of sand and basically nothing. So David is thinking, oh, I am the god that they're talking about in this poem, when really he is the thing that will be forgotten in 100 years, when basically we catch up to the timeline of Alien 79 and no one is talking about a David or, this crazy AI that created the xenomorph. It is now just taken over by the Weyland-Yutani, corporation that is much larger than anything that this, creator god AI could ever come up with.
Yeah, and that's really nicely done. We could, I don't know, you can make the argument, like, is that great writing, or is that writing that wants to allude to other old intellectual writing?
It's also alluding to Blade Runner, because they use Ozymandias in Blade Runner too.
Oh, okay.
So
okay,
Ridley has his he's got his pitches. Every once in a while you got to throw the Ozymandias curveball in there.
Sure, yeah,
just mix it up a little bit.
Well, did you know all that stuff, or did you look it up?
So one of my favorite episodes of television is from Breaking Bad, where Bryan Cranston at the beginning of it reads Ozymandias. The title of that episode is Ozymandias.
All right.
And then I became obsessed with learning about that poem.
Hell yeah.
I was going to memorize the entire poem for this podcast, but we turned this one around pretty quick, so I did not have time to memorize. It's not a very long poem, to be fair.
You have symphonies in you, my brother. So no, but that's awesome, and I mean that's I mean, you're very knowledgeable with that
I met
stuff,
a weary traveler from an ancient time.
So, um, so I think I think we can start to. I mean, we can start to wrap. Do we need to talk about? I mean, there's an end scene. I don't think we need to go shot for shot. I mean, what else? Before we start to wrap and maybe talk about what we think maybe the third movie would have maybe been, do we before we do that though? Like,
Well,
what else do we want to talk about with Covenant?
Yeah, let's get into kind of our thinking on how David came up with, like, how he got to the creation of the xenomorphs, what happens to basically create the xenomorph creature that is the big bad for the last 20 minutes of this. But I'm definitely way more interested in what you think about how, like, David talks a little bit about his process, kind of. We see Shaw, and she's been, like, cut open, and so he's been using parts of her. He's also been using parts of the engineers that were still on the planet that weren't totally affected by the black goo. He's also taken in other biological creatures that have been affected, and so he's been doing these experiments for 10 years, kind of like building towards this neomorph, xenomorph like creature. Now, did David in Prometheus see the deacon that it appears that the engineers were worshiping in that chamber and is trying to create something that appears like it, which would imply that both the engineers created the xenomorph type architecture for that creature, and David is merely trying to mimic it and create something better than it, because his is larger, the deacon's a small old guy. Yeah. So where do you think that this movie puts its finger on who the creator of the xenomorph is?
No, and I don't think it doesn't have to. So what I took from and I think this movie and Prometheus are not going to be able, you can't pin them down to give you direct answers like that. And that's good. I don't even need to have those direct answers. What I took away from this and what I thought was kind of, the very effective thing is where those drawings and going into the David's lair. He's like one of the most sick serial killers ever. I mean, like, as far as like, we're seeing all this experimentation that he's done, and some of it's on Shaw. I mean, like, it's horrific. And so again, this is why it's a good, effective horror movie. Yes, he's playing around with genetics. It's highly whatever he says. It's very easy to play around with it, and he is having a time playing around with it, doing twisted stuff. And then, oh, by the way, yeah, maybe he made these alien eggs, and we get what looks a lot like the xenomorph. Maybe it's the protomorph. Maybe it's the xenomorph. I don't care. Like, really what I think happened is they were like, all right, we got to make sure that at the end of the movie, we have something that looks a lot like the xenomorph, because that's what the fans want. And so, Ridley, you got to give it to us. And so they did, and it's fine. But I don't care. Like, as far as the logistics of how, I mean, I think it's like very easily explained there? No, it's not. But that doesn't matter so much for me.
Yeah, and so, while we were watching it the second time, I'm like, Chris, do you know how David created the eggs that look exactly like the eggs in the 79 movie that John Hurt puts his face over, where we get the first facehugger? Because a similar scene happens in this with Orem, where David tricks him into putting his face over the eggs, but there is no queen. So why are there eggs? How did David create the eggs? We have no idea. I think there is a line of dialogue that David says to Daniels that he wanted to impregnate her with a queen. But that's like one kind of off piece of dialogue that if you missed it, you missed it, and you'd have to watch it a bunch of times just to actually figure that out. There's also like extended scenes on the Blu-ray that apparently explain this a little bit more, but just even reading about them seems convoluted.
Yep, I don't care. I choose to be blissfully ignorant of this. This movie does some things really well, and then we can also look at stuff like, hey, why does he put his face in front of the egg? And I know we talked about this, and Ridley Scott said he wanted it to be an homage to the John Hurt character in the first movie, but he probably wouldn't do that in real life. I don't care. I'm suspending my disbelief. I'm just here for a fun and disgusting alien horror movie. That's why I'm here. And I'm fine with that.
The Orem David scene basically just boils down to, Orem is the man of faith, belief.
It's a little heavy-handed.
He asked David, what do you believe in?
Which is stupid. Why
David says creation.
And then he dies. So one criticism that I will gladly give is this is edited so quickly, nothing has time to breathe. It's a 2-hour...
Except for the David Walter conversations, which are paced really, really well, and the Mr. Weyland scene at the beginning.
Yes.
So basically, any of the stuff that we spent any amount of time on is paced really well and done very well, which is why I say half of this movie is good.
And then the horror part with the back burster, throat burster, they're edited appropriately.
Sure.
Like we don't that's what it should do there. But yeah, all that stuff towards the end, it does seem like it's like, okay, well, we need to do this. Okay, well, we need to have them fight. Okay, well, we need this.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't care about
the
it.
The first ending of this movie is so bad.
What, are we talking about when they're on the ship?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like, whatever. We skipped over it.
Yeah, we get the stupid accent scene while they're exiting the planet, with the thing on top of it, and Daniels is flying around on a cable, and then... there's another one on the ship, and it's killing everybody. And Chris, what plan do you think they have of getting that xenomorph off of the ship?
You gotta blow it out.
Gotta blow it out of the hatch.
But to be so...
it's so... Again, it's like, does Alien have an ending problem? Yes, except for this has 2 endings, and the second ending is great. And you don't need the first one to have the second one.
Yeah, it's just, so I think this comes down to logistics of a action horror movie. And you needed a scene that was you needed like a final fight scene. They did
it on the exit of the planet.
What, David? Oh, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. So, yeah, they wanted to take it to the nth degree. They wanted They
wanted every named character in the movie besides David to basically be dead.
Yeah. I don't fault it so much. I don't like it when we just did the rewatch. I skipped over it. It
sucks.
I don't need to see it, but I can imagine for someone like, my 16-year-old son who did not see many of these alien movies, this seems like the movie is doing like, hey, well, I'm a big budget movie. This is what I have to do at the end. It's doing that. Now, I don't care about it, but that's what I can I can see like why it's there, and it didn't make me like aggressive. It didn't make me angry. I didn't think it was cool. It didn't do much for me, but I was like, okay, I get it. Fine. What we get though after that though is pretty cool, and that's you got David posing as Walter, tucking in Daniels.
Yep. And then he puts her into cryo sleep and starts walking through the ship and barfing up some face hugger embryos and putting them in the freezer.
Hey Siri, give me entrance of the gods into the Valhalla.
Yeah. That Wagner piece.
But I just real quickly.
So I think we're selling this second ending pretty sure. It's a great second ending. Well, if you buy the David posing as Walter, because they have a fight on the planet, you don't know who wins the fight. Exactly. And it seems that Walter is victorious.
It's 50-50.
Yeah. And comes aboard the ship, and to all indications, except for maybe a couple of the actions while Walter, quote unquote, is watching the video and directing Daniels in Tennessee while they're chasing after the xenomorph, he doesn't seem like he's helping in any way, really. Like, he's kind of helping, but kind of not helping. So you're like, why is Walter acting a little weird?
It's a little off, but yeah. And again, like that part would be part of the ending that doesn't really do it for me. But when she's being put into cryosleep where it's already too late, and she asks about will you help me with the cabin in the woods, and he just stares, and she freaks out, and you get the heart monitor on her cryosleep chamber. It goes up, 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 and then she he puts his he does the shh thing, and says time to or don't let the bed bugs bite.
Time to tuck in the children.
It's awesome. That's awesome. That is a badass ending. And then he goes in and he takes control of the ship, and that's our ending. It's great. It's diabolical.
They're going to that planet, Oregon 6.
Oregon Trail 6.
Oregon Trail 6. Cock the wagon and float.
Everyone's getting dysentery and dying with
Don't get
xenomorphs.
snake bites.
Yeah, so I think it's great. I mean, there's definitely parts that
this is not a great movie, Chris.
I don't think it's is it a great movie from front to back? No, but it's one of my it's one
F
of
to
the
B?
What?
F to B? Front to back?
Front to back. It's really good. I like it a lot. It's very enjoyable for me. And even though you can easily see areas where it falls short, the highs are really high for me, and so I really like it.
I like the parts of this movie where they allow me to be a wannabe nerdy English major.
Yeah, when you can test your knowledge of old poetry.
Just bring me the old texts.
Yeah.
I'll scour the old texts.
The
and
tablets.
We'll try to make some connections. I think everything with Walter and David is really good. I love the cold open at the beginning. I think the one action scene that you pointed out is I don't like it as much as you, but yeah, you made a lot of good points.
Thank you. So
But for the most part, this movie sucks pretty bad.
Okay, well, agree to disagree. Let's talk. Let's do our awards and our ratings.
Yeah, I mean, he's excited for this one, folks. All
Yeah,
right, Chris. What is your favorite scene?
I'll do Backburster.
Yeah,
I mean,
specifically that part of that.
Yeah,
10-minute long scene.
Yeah, it's among the best horror. It's among the horror highs of the franchise for me. So that's what I'm going with. Backburster.
I feel bad because I want to take the opening scene with Mr. Weyland and David, but I took the opening scene for Prometheus, so I'm just like, yeah, I like the first 5 minutes of these movies, then you can shut them off.
They really start strong. Well, if
I'm
that's
gonna
what you want.
go with because it then folds into the Ozymandias scene between David and Walter. The first one, not when Walter corrects him the second time. But that also includes the flashback to the destruction of Planet 4. We haven't named it yet. That's what it's called. Planet 4 by David. The dropping of the black goo is so cool, and the destruction of the engineer-type people below. I really like that flashback. And then, of course, the, misappropriation of the use of Ozymandias afterwards. But
It's strong.
That's some good stuff there.
Yeah. What about your
favorite character in this movie? We both picked Fassbender for Prometheus. For this one,
You can pick two. You can
do
pick
I like
David or
Walter more or David more? Interesting. I'm still going David. He's Michael Fassbender as David. He's the driving force of this entire movie. He's the entire driving force of the first two movies. You can throw Shaw in there for Prometheus a little bit, just because you have to. But this movie does not make any sense, does not work at all in any way, shape, or form, because the crew in this movie Covenant sucks. David is the only reason why this movie works at all. Shout out to Walter. You did help a little bit.
Thank you very much. I did. I'll just be different slightly and go with Walter because whatever. David's obviously the richer character, and it would be him for me. The other characters aren't very good. And that's
even,
it.
Like only one I can think a little bit is maybe the Billy Crudup.
Yeah, he has something.
Character.
He does something.
He has something to him. They tried to give him some backstory, but let's talk for a second about Daniels. Daniels is supposed to be kind of our Ripley Shaw character in this. She's so nothing. There's nothing to her. She has this relationship with James Franco that we never see on screen in the theatrical version. She just is, walking around with a mopey, sad face the entire time, and it just is dumb.
I would say that you could maybe make a kind argument to say, like, well, that was a bait and switch. We had this, you think it's going to be this lead female protagonist that's going to be reminiscent of Ripley. She's going to look a little bit like Ripley with some of the, gear outfits. But then we're going to pivot away from her, and it's going to be revealed that this whole thing is about the, the anti-hero synthetic. And the rest of the crew is essentially expendable. And who cares?
All right.
And that's by design.
Chris, who was your MVP of the movie?
If I could go to, if I could say, just the dark nature of it, which, I can't, I'm not going to do that. But, because who is that? Who's being credited for that?
It's Ridley Scott.
So, shout out, honorable mention to Ridley Scott for doing that, for making a really... Hey, you know what? Taking it back. Shout out to the guy who did the score.
His name is Jed Kurzel. He's going to be my MVP of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
his name's Jed Kurzel. This is the first Alien movie that he worked on. Ridley Scott has had a different composer for every single one of the movies that he's worked on. All of them are very good. Kurzel uses a lot of allusions to past score work within this movie, but I think puts together, a lot of really good stuff with the illusions and stuff like that, and using stuff in very powerful spots. He also worked on The Babadook.
Yeah. Okay.
And Assassin's Creed, which also starred Michael Fassbender.
Oh, I did not catch that one. So, the elephant in the room is saying, give it to Michael Fassbender. Guy's playing two roles. He's amazing.
The elephant in the room? The space jockey?
See what you did there. But, I part of me would like to say Ridley Scott, because, this was more maybe his vision from the start. If, Lindelof came in and kind of muddied things up and made things a little more multi-directional and maybe cut away from the single narrative perspective that Ridley Scott started with Prometheus, he brings it back here a little bit. And I love the huge swing of making this really, really dark, huge blockbuster return to major horror by Ridley Scott. It's not successful in all the ways, but I gotta maybe have that be a tie with Michael Fassbender, who's playing two roles, and he's awesome. And you can't deny his performance. It's incredible. So I don't know if this is allowed, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have it be a tie.
Fassbender's performance in both these movies is the legacy of them that is still known today.
Yeah, and
you can ask anybody, hey, have you ever seen Prometheus? Have you ever seen Covenant? They might be like, no, but I heard Fassbender's really good at them.
And Covenant is where he takes it to the next level. Just
if you think he's good in Prometheus, you have to watch Covenant because he's just as good.
Well, he's even better. Whatever.
It's a little bit more of a
everyone's
trick,
opinion, but yeah, it's the trick, but also, he has a lot to do and a lot to work with, and he is the heartbeat of this movie.
And there could have been third, Alien Awakenings.
Yeah, I hope that we get to see.
Script.
I hope we get to see it sometimes.
I read a little bit in the IMDb trivia that it might be being worked on a little bit, but
it would make me. Hey, and let's hope Romulus does well. Let's hope Alien Earth, the FX series by Noah Hawley, does great. And now all of a sudden, the interest in the Alien, the Xenoverse, as I've heard it called, will be high again, and Ridley's gonna bring it home.
There we go, Chris. We've now done it. Every released Alien movie has been recorded in podcast form by us. Doing a wrap-up pod for all of the Alien movies after we record our Romulus episode, in which we will be going through every single one of the movies, hitting our highs and lows. We've got some special stuff planned out for that episode. It should be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot less of us just talking through the plot of stuff.
Yes.
And we'll make a lot of connections to every single one of the movies. And I'm sure we will be answering who our favorite performance in all of the movies is.
Yeah.
And it might be Fassbender. But it might not be.
For me, who do you expect? Santa Claus?
So I refuse to play drops on this because just in the nature of how we were recording it, I did not have time to pull any Alien Covenant drops. So I am on a strike, so to speak,
Well, I just
for
did it
drops
for
for
you.
one episode. I almost just hit it there, but I will not.
That's fine.
I will
Solidarity.
not.
Well, spoiler alert. It's definitely that guy for me. Okay, so next time, we're seeing Romulus.
Oh, we didn't give our ratings for this movie.
Yeah, let's do the
Gotta
ratings.
Make sure that we do a rating. Chris, I'm going to give Alien Covenant 6.5.
8.1 here.
That's the same score I gave Alien 3, you bastard.
Woo! Alien. There's parts of this that I like much more than Alien 3. No disrespect.
Alien 3 is a much better whole movie.
Okay, no, hey, agree to disagree. Beautiful stuff, horrific stuff. Next week.
It's not as horrific as a prison planet.
I don't know, man. That backburster.
Dude, he was a murderer and rapist of women.
He was.
That's-
Of women. He had to make sure. Not of men. No. Don't you think I was a rapist of men? I'm not gay. But I am a rapist of women.
A murderer and rapist.
Murderer and rapist of women. I'm not proud of it, but I am. Super straight, though, guys. Whatever. Yeah, I know it's a prison. Yeah, I know. But it's not. Not me.
I know what you're thinking. I know what you're
but
thinking.
not. Never.
Lot of time alone with just dudes.
Don't believe what that guy by the canteen says. That wasn't even me that night. Listen.
At
Okay.
least it cured me of my morphine addiction.
Yeah, he was by. All right, so Romulus, we're going to see it. It officially hits theaters August 16th, but ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be seeing it on the 15th, and we're going to do an episode right after, so you'll be able to listen to our episode on the day of the release. Luke, are you excited?
It will be pitch dark. And Kaylee Spaney's in it.
Another mediocre female performance on the way.
Here we come.
I'm excited. I don't think, my anticipation is I'm going into it with, tempered expectations. I do not expect this is going to be the best Alien movie, but I'm hopeful that it will be in the upper half.
I think this will land somewhere between Resurrection and Covenant.
Ooh, so you're expecting it to suck by your standards?
Compared to the Alien movies that I like, yes.
Okay, so it's
I think
lower
it will.
half for you. Lower half for you.
But this, again, anticipation. It's not real. I will say that every single time I have seen the longer and longer cuts of the trailer in the movies that we've seen in the theaters recently, I have liked it less and less and less.
Yep. Yeah,
And yeah, so that's...
Hey, we're excited though.
Here's an idea for you people. Just don't watch the trailer. If I would have never watched the trailer, I'd be rocking. I'd be like, Romulus, we're doing it. And now I'm just like,
Lower the
it'll be
expectation.
fun to watch and record a podcast on it.
It will be. And so we're going to do it. We're going to talk.
Why is everyone in this movie 18 years old, Chris?
Because it's a new generation.
But even if, just, all right.
They're on TikTok.
I don't want to spoil what I
These
might be
kids
complaining
these
about.
days, everyone's so young and they're all on their phones.
This Kaylee Spaney lady, she's just in everything. We saw Civil War. She's the main character besides Kirsten Dunst in
I
that
just
movie.
don't get it.
She looks so young.
The world is passing me by. Well, on our quest for immortality and to fight against this younger generation, we will go regardless, and we will watch, and we will report, and we'll see you then.
Give me more life, God.
See you later.
Bye.